Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to Spring Tea with Carla Moshla. We are delighted that the sun is out, the flowers are blossoming, the winter is disappearing, and we are ready to rock. Today, we are going to talk about the rich and famous. We all secretly are fascinated with them. And wouldn't you think, with all that money they have, that they would never be caught without a wonderful estate plan, trusts, perfectly funded, end of life instructions, powers of attorney? Well, that is not the case. We have some incredible cautionary tales with the rich and famous for how they did not get it done, and they can teach us what to avoid. Some very surprising famous people had no will at all. Abraham Lincoln, believe it or not. Pablo Picasso, he was famously frugal. He loved his money. He loved to accumulate it. He didn't like to spend it. He was often said to pay for his meals or pay for anything he purchased with a check, and he'd scribble a little sketch in there, hoping that whomever had the check, knowing that he was a famous artist, might keep it and not cash it, and therefore it wouldn't come from his stash. He had no plan at all. It was a reported 15 million in taxes in France, as well as additional other multiple millions to settle the estate. One of the most recent for us, and really quite tragic, is Prince. We all love the musical legend. He was such a private person. He loved his foundations, he loved his church, he loved his young musicians. No planning, not even a will. So after his tragic death, everything has to go to court. His one full blood sister is not even considered sophisticated enough to be his administrator, so this huge trust is appointed. His 5 half siblings each get a share, but there was something like 147 people came forward saying that they were in fact related to Prince. It was almost impossible to say what the value of his estate was. His foundation, he didn't set anything up. He paid so many millions in taxes that would never have needed to be paid. No money for his church and no money for those young musicians that he always wanted to help. We could talk all day about the interesting things that happened with Prince's estate, and we know. Why do we know? Because it's all so public, because everything's in probate court, where it has to be when no planning is done. Some famous people begin planning but don't do enough. Heath Ledger, whom we know from The Dark Knight, he had done a will. He had taken, when he was young and single, it was for his parents and his siblings, but then he had his lovely little daughter, and then he died young, tragically. He had never updated his plan. We do not have to give a share of our estate to our children. So a battle was brewing between the mother of his young daughter and his family. Luckily, they resolved it, and most of the money was given by his family to his young daughter. Most of them do not end that amicably. Also, a recent death was Philip Seymour, I always forget his last name, Hoffman. Again, recently he had done some planning. He didn't have enough planning done. He had only named one of his 3 children, and he really wanted his children not to be rich brats. So he left the money to his lifetime partner to take care of for them. Boy, if he had talked to me, I could have told him how to set up trusts, make sure their travel was included, make sure their education was included, and it wouldn't be up to his partner to determine how that money was spent. And it certainly wouldn't be subject to any future partner that his life partner at the time of his death might have. So, another cautionary tale. Unfunded trust. So Michael Jackson attempted to do a really good estate plan. He set up the beautiful documents, but he didn't line it up with his assets. So because everything was in his name individually, all of that had to go through probate to get to the trust that he set up. And didn't we all enjoy, whether we like it or not, watching as his mother's grooming habits and all of his estates? And of course, he had so many claims and was involved in so many lawsuits that everything was just made all the muddier by the fact that he hadn't done proper planning. We all remember Leona Holmesley, the hotel magnate, who famously left everything to her dog Trouble, but she didn't do adequate planning. She didn't do the pet trusts that I tell you about, and she had wanted to disinherit her grandchildren. They ended up getting a vast share of her estate because she didn't get the right plan in place. One example that I think is kind of sad, a few years ago, Casey Kasem, we all knew him as the voice of Scooby-Doo, all those top 40s. Well, he hadn't done adequate planning. He'd had a new wife, as of course many people have that later in life partner. He had a daughter from a previous relationship. He did get dementia, and his daughter and his wife went to war. He, with his dementia, was dragged around the country. Depending on what court, in what state, it was determined that either the wife or the daughter could have the care for his health, and they are still battling as to where his remains can be laid. Just really sad that could have been taken care of with an excellent estate plan. Anna Nicole Smith, my heavens, her billionaire that she married when he was 19, she was only 27. Her estate was still in court right up until her tragic death in her 30s. And then her estate and what she might have was now in an old will, which included a son who predeceased her and had made no mention of her little minor daughter at the time of her death. We could talk all day about who knows why these famous people don't do good estate plans. Maybe they feel invincible. Maybe it's because they're constantly moving. Maybe they do get good advice and don't take it. They're too busy for whatever reason. It's just amazing to me. Now, a good 50% of us do no planning, but you would imagine if you have that much access to wealth and advice that you would have it in place. So it is true, the stars are just like the rest of us. Do you know who did do a good job? Joan Rivers. She had a trust for many years. She had 11 amendments and 3 restatements. Do you know what that trust says? Neither do I. Because she did it so well and lined it up with her assets, it never went to court. We shouldn't know. We shouldn't know what people have in their assets if they do the job right. Frank Sinatra, also many people laying a claim to that incredible legacy of his. He had a new wife. He wanted to take care of that wife. He did that property in his planning. His children got something, not what they thought they should get, but no one could do anything because he had it locked up. Now, why am I telling you all of this? You are the star. You're the celebrity of your own life. And I know you want what you have, what's precious to you, to go to whom you want it to go to, and that you want to put the right person in charge, and you want to keep it private. And you want your family to be harmonious. So what you have is yours. You're the star. Get the plan in place. Keep it private. Get a trust, get it lined up with your assets, update it with the big stuff, births, deaths, marriages. Make sure that there isn't some unintended beneficiary that is the last person that you would want now to get something who will end up getting it over your loved ones. So get a plan in place, keep it updated, and make sure that you don't have any of these awful cautionary tales happen to you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up for our first spring tea, and I will see you again next week. Thanks and bye.